virtually. How can I do it? Don't worry, you can manage your time. Try to manage my time using the 4 quadrants. 4 quadrants of time management can help me to determine what's important, what's urgent, and also what tasks will I reduce or delegate. Stay focused. The benefit of focus is I can increase productivity and produce better quality of work. Google Calendar is your best friend. When there are so many tasks to do, I need a reminder to set every task in my calendar, so I didn't miss everything on that day. Right, all my tasks can finish today. You can do it, right?
Oh, got so much work to do. Hey, yeah? Wanna play? Let's go. Wanna play? Oh. Yo, have you done your homework? We got presentation tomorrow. And remember, today we have to finish study from
Yo, bro, who got you
Focus.
like that? Like,
Kill the light, so baby close your eyes. The way you're looking at me, you got me mesmerized. Something I can't escape.
3 main things that have improved after time management class. The first, more organized by applying quadrant time management. Second, more disciplined by applying Google Time Calendar. The third, try to be focused and not distracted when doing something according to my timeline.
Saya Tingkilia, lulusan Bangkit 2021. Saat ini saya bekerja sebagai External Code Reviewer di Decoding Indonesia.
Saya Adi, lulusan Bangkit 2021. Saat ini saya bekerja sebagai Data Science Fellow di Jakarta AI Research.
Saya Bagi Mas, lulusan Bangkit 2021. Sekarang saya bekerja sebagai Data Scientist di Bisa AI.
Halo, saya Dharma, salah satu lulusan Bangkit tahun 2021. Saat ini saya bekerja sebagai External Code Reviewer di Decoding.
Halo, saya Alia, lulusan Bangkit 2021. Saat ini saya bekerja sebagai Culture Engagement Analyst Intern di CMB Niaga.
Halo teman-teman semua, saya Risno, alumni Bangkit program 2021. Saat ini saya menjabat sebagai CEO dari Jagawana. Dan juga saya bekerja sebagai Data Science di AI Tracking Working Group, sebuah tim riset dari Universitas Gadjah Mada.
Halo, saya Tirsa, lulusan Bangkit 2021. Saat ini, saya bekerja sebagai mobile dan cloud developer di Nongsa Digital Park, Batam.
Hai, saya Timotius, lulusan program Bangkit 2021. Saat ini, saya berperan sebagai co-founder dan software engineer di Bacara, salah satu top 15 capstone project Bangkit 2021 yang menerima pendanaan inkubasi dari Dikti dan Google.
Berkat Bangkit, saya dan tim telah membuat Jagawana, sebuah startup yang berfokus pada pencegahan penebangan ilegal yang mendapatkan pendanaan dari proses inkubasi Bangkit.
Terima kasih Bangkit, kesempatan belajar selama 6 bulan yang saya peroleh berhasil mengantarkan saya menjadi lulusan dengan predikat distinction di Bangkit 2021.
Bersama tim, saya bisa memberikan dampak di bidang kesehatan dengan membuat aplikasi deteksi dini penyakit demensia yang sudah tersedia di Play Store.
Sekarang saya siap memberikan dampak di bidang kelautan Indonesia dengan machine learning, dengan menjadi bagian dari tim pengembangan AI untuk terumbu karang bersama BRIN dan juga LIPI.
Saya telah berhasil tersertifikasi sebagai Google Associate Android Developer dan siap memberikan kontribusi terbaik di bidang teknologi untuk Indonesia dan dunia.
Terima kasih Bangkit, sekarang saya resmi menjadi Certified TensorFlow Developer.
Sekarang, saya menjadi talenta digital dengan kemampuan unggul di bidang cloud computing dan siap memberikan dampak positif pada Indonesia.
Bersama tim, saya bisa menciptakan sebuah produk aplikasi penerjemah bahasa isyarat Indonesia ke dalam bentuk teks dan suara secara langsung.
Terima kasih Bangkit.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Selamat Hari Kartini. Seeing me again in this opportunity with me, Cendekia, in guest speaker session Bangkit 2022, #8. It's a pleasure for me to meet you all. Based on the theme we rise today, how to be the next generation of leader in tech. I would like to hear from you. What is the definition of leader? You may drop your opinion in the chat box below. Okay? Okay. Okay. Wow. The response are certainly variative. It show the topic of the leadership with empathize in tech industry must be really interesting, isn't it? Okay. And the good news is today there will be a door prize with a prize of 100 point for those 5 best questionnaire, which can be later exchanged with Bangkit merchandise at the end of the academy. As a graduated student on Bangkit, I proudly to say that I managed to collect a point and got the beautiful merchandise. Actually, there are so many interesting stuff, but this just one my favorite one. So keep it up to collect the point, guys. Fighting. Okay, our event today is so special, not only because of the leadership topic, but also the 2 female speaker who will shortly join us today because yesterday was cartoonist day and today we have 2 cartoonists as our speakers attending this session. But resource person have more than 15 years of experience in tech industry or tech role. Wow, okay. Who are they? The first speaker is Mbak Muriel Makarim, Head of Brand Reputation Google Indonesia. She leads her team to work on various grow with Google programs, including Bangkit. So I'm a little bit nervous actually today. What I know about Mbak Muriel is her strong support towards diversity, equality, and inclusion also in Bangkit. And secondly, we will also invite the second special guest, Mbak Dian Rosanti, Head of Consumer Platform at Gojek. Her years expertise on product management includes consumer mobile, web, internalization, localization, and among others. Okay, as an Android developer myself, I'm also curious about her insight as well. Okay, please welcome Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian with a huge applause in the chat box below. Hello, Mbak Muriel. Hello, Mbak Dian. How are
Hello.
you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having us.
Oh, I'm so excited today to meet you guys. Okay. All right. Our beloved friends who attend the Bangkit guest speaker session surely cannot wait to hear interesting story and experience from both of you, Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian. So let's jump into talk show session. Okay. Speaking of youth, what first you got interested in tech and how did you know it is the field that you want to pursue as your career path? We might first want to hear the story from Mbak Muriel. For Mbak Muriel, you may be pleased.
Yeah, so this was a story from a long time ago, without revealing my age, when I was in college. So I actually went to study liberal arts, which means like going into college, you don't really need to decide what you want to major or focus in. So I kind of used my first 2 years to test the waters and try out different classes to see what I was interested in. Until one day I was introduced and I was curious about the class Programming 101. So I took actually C++. I don't know, Chandika, do people still
Yes.
study C++ these
Yes,
days?
still study until now.
I wasn't sure. Okay. So yeah, I took C++ and it was kind of eye-opening when I took it because I felt very challenged. Just solving like a different, how to build a very simple mini software. It really took me maybe days to solve one small problem, and then you test it, you debug it, and then at the end finally you found the answer. It was just like a huge like feeling that you have that you're so satisfied. And literally because of that, just that one class, I was like, okay, I think this is my path. This is where I want to go. Even though eventually, maybe we'll talk about it later, I eventually moved away from software engineering, but that literally was what made it, because I had a really good teacher, a really engaging class that I thought that I was learning a lot from.
Oh, wow, what an inspiring story. Apparently, there are many compelling things that made Mbak Muriel choose to pursue the world of the career industry. Okay, well, after had already heard from Mbak Muriel, now we will turn to Mbak Dian. How it's from you, Mbak Dian?
It's funny, it's kind of a similar story. I'm also kind of trying not to date myself, but I think I've been like a tech nerd for as long as I can remember. Like one of my earliest memories as a child, I think I was 3 or thereabouts, and my dad was like showing me how to use Lotus 123. It's like one of the earliest spreadsheet programs. And I've just like always, I think, wanted to like do something in tech, like design things or like build things. And, you know, having Asian parents are like, oh, you should just be a computer scientist, like an engineer. And I was like, okay, let's try that. Turns out, you know, like after taking a few classes and like we're at this point where they asked us to like start writing an assembly code. And I was like, I like tech, but I don't like it this much. So I started actually exploring like what are other things that can intersect with tech. And I ended up studying human computer interaction. It was like very like mixed with like design and communications and psychology, but also a little bit of computer science. And I think since then, that's like how I was able to pursue a career in tech.
Oh, wow. Okay. From the story from Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian, we may learn that dream is just not enough, but it also take faith to make our dreams come true, yeah, as of the main asset in our career journey. Okay. My friends and also me personally are curious about how Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian career journey. So that you can still work and Google at Gojek till now. What motivate Mbak Muriel to work in this tech industry, which tend to be dynamic and really flexible?
So my career journey, I've moved across industries. So after I graduated with a computer science degree, I worked as a software engineer for the aerospace industry. And that lasted for about a year until I realized that I actually want to learn new things, be involved in a lot of different projects, and because those things keep me engaged. So I moved to the consulting world, where in consulting, you're exposed to a lot of different short projects. You see the outcome and the work that you do, and then you move on to the next, and you also have exposure to a lot of different industries. Now, I started as an IT consultant, specifically building data warehouses. So what we call big data these days, helping companies use these data to make data-driven marketing decisions. After doing that for a couple of years, and then I realized that, you know what, like I kind of want to broaden my horizon and move beyond being a software engineer or software IT consultant. So I went to business school. And in business school, that's where I was intrigued into solving business problem as a whole. So I worked in a management consulting company. After that, I worked in a management consulting company for about 4 years. Really enjoyed it, learned a lot during the process, worked with a lot of really amazing companies in Indonesia, understanding how strategy and decisions are being made, and knowing that your work can become a good input into what the company ends up doing the next 5 years. But then again, I guess my calling was tech. You know, Google has always been kind of my dream company, you know, that I've been curious about. And actually in business school, not only I was exposed to consulting, but also to the marketing world. I know it's something that I would have to learn from scratch, you know, coming with no marketing background, but just a good understanding of the tech industry. So I applied to Google, and luckily, you know, I got in and worked in the marketing world. And so far, it's been year 4, and I'm truly enjoying it. In terms of like what keeps me, you asked about sense of purpose, right, at work. I feel like every day what drives me is knowing that I'm learning something new every day. For me personally, the worst thing is to be in a role or in a job where I'm not engaged, or you're just kind of stagnant and you're not developing yourself, right? Uh, but at Google, it's such a huge company in the forefront of innovation. There is no day that you're not exposed to all kinds of challenges that's new that you kind of need to learn now how to solve. So that's the great thing about what I do now.
Whoa, it's all takes hard work and consistency. Oh, it's amazing, Mbak. Okay, then we turn to Mbak Dian. Okay, Mbak Dian, how was your journey to be able to work at Gojek, and what do you like the most about your current position and the role at Gojek?
Great question. Well, I think I've been working in tech startups, since like 2008 or something. But honestly, like I didn't really discover product management as a career path until after a couple of internships and actually a very brief stint as like a data analyst at a startup. It just, when you talk to people today, they're always asking me like, how do you become a product manager? It's like it's the thing that people really want to learn about, really want to do. And I was like, it's really actually a very stressful job, you guys. Are you sure you want to pick this career path? But I discovered it eventually after meeting some people in the industry, and they said, hey, the thing that you want to do, there's a label for it. It's called product. You should go explore it. And my first, I think, real PM job was at Flipboard. I don't know if you guys remember when the iPad first came out. It was one of the first apps. So that's really where I started kind of learning about the craft of product management and design, beyond just like technology. After that, I went to change.org, the online petition platform. I think you guys also like it's quite popular here too. So it was really great to work with such an international team, but also just really set the bar on like what a job could be and like how fulfilling it can be to like work with a company that has like a real social mission. So since then, I think that's been like a filter for any job that I want to take. So before Gojek, for example, I actually spent a couple of years working for a company based out of East Africa, and then we were serving like off the grid communities with like cheap, affordable solar energy. So that was really really awesome too. And I've been at Gojek now for 4 years. Time really flew by. I started out as head of product operations there, and now before transitioning to a consumer platform. And I think the best part of this job is that I don't think I've had a day gone by where I didn't like learn something or like don't like every day I feel like really challenged. There's never a day that felt like too easy. So I am just constantly on my toes and learning. And some days it's a bit much, but I'm never bored. And the people are pretty amazing. So it's been a really great journey.
Whoa, okay, amazing. Okay, guys. So maybe you can apply the motivation and the principle from Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian for your next career journey, guys. Okay. Okay, jump to the next question. As we all know, Bangkit is an independent study program that educated students from all over Indonesia to prepare for their career. Therefore, maybe Mbak Dian and Mbak Murid would also love to share what did you prepare during your university years that shaped you into the person you today. Okay, maybe from Mbak Dian first. You may take the first turn.
I think so. Like growing up, I was like really, really shy and timid and quiet. And I think even now, when I'm meeting new people, I get pretty nervous. So I think the thing that really helped me from my university years is like being just put in a place where I was alone, didn't know anybody, didn't really have a support system, right? Because I went to the States and I was on my own. So I had to like just force myself to like learn these skills to like communicate with people, just like get over like certain fears and just like put myself out there and like build relationships. And I think that's become like a really valuable skill because, beyond just the education that you can get, like a really big part of, I think education is like the people you meet and the network you build, which can be like really lifelong and can help you in really unexpected ways throughout your career journey. So I think that was one of the most valuable things I learned.
I see. Okay. Thank you, Mbak Dian, for your great answer. Okay, and how about Mbak Muriel?
Yeah. So one thing that I definitely learned in college was it's simple and it may sound basic, but I know a lot of people don't do this enough is ask questions. So I also like went to school in Indonesia. I went to Alizar Pondok Labu
Wow.
for my high school. So moving to the US for the first time, suddenly now learning things in English, being surrounded and being a minority, right? Was a challenge. My first year, I would say, was one of the toughest years ever, and coming from high school where I used to be, ranking, right?
Yes, I know.
And then moving to college where I'm not like, I feel like I'm the dumbest person, like I'm not getting good grades, all that stuff, right? And so what I learned was like, am I like not smart or like what's going on here? I felt really challenged. And then what I realized was that when I look at my peers who are like getting A's, A pluses, and all these things, I, for some reason, thought that they were just born as geniuses. They were born as really smart people, and it's easy for them to get these kind of grades. And I was struggling. But then when I look behind it, actually, no, that's not the case. They actually spent so much hours trying to get these good performance, good grades. They ask a lot of questions. I didn't know that there's these things called office hours. You go to your professor's office, you go to the teaching assistant's office and just sit down with them for hours if you don't understand certain thing, right?
Yes.
And only through that hard work and dedication, they were able to get that, so it was like a new mindset that I had to shift that on my second year. On my second year, I realized like, I know I can do this. I just need to start asking questions. If I don't understand, I ask questions. I go get help. Because actually the resources are out there. There are people who know and can teach you, can mentor you, but you need to be out there and ask for help. So how that translates into work is the same thing. We start to work at a new job, or at a big company where it can get quite overwhelming. It's okay, like ask questions if you don't know. The worst thing is that you feel like you're alone at it, you're confused, you don't know what to do, and then it just becomes like a dangerous spiral, in your head. But actually around you, people are quite supportive. You'd be surprised.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Okay. Well, very interesting. I have been heard that said there's no stupid question there. There are stupid people that shy to ask a question. I have been heard about that. Well, very interesting. As you may heard, guys, from two amazing women. If you are shy like Mbak Dian, or even being a minority like Mbak Muriel back in the States, you can achieve your dreams and goal as long as you are determined to moving forward and do a lot of hard work. And this conversation is getting more and more podcasting. Okay, let's jump into the next question. Okay, when it comes to women, people say that tech industry is driven with a strong male persons. Yes, this resonates with a study by Lippi that show only 30% women choose science, technology, engineer, math in university. Is that true, Mbak Muriel? On how is your current situation at work, and did you experience this gender imbalance as among key challenge for you navigate your years of career in this industry?
Yeah, actually, funnily enough, I guess things haven't changed much since when I was in college because and at my school also computer science major, 30% female, so was the minority. And then I moved on to work in consulting company, IT or strategy, both, also 30% female, mostly a majority male. Um, Business school also S2,
Mm.
again 30% female. So most of my career journey and school journey actually has always been 30% female, right?
Mm.
It's not recently until recently when I moved to Google and I'm in the marketing side of things where this is my first environment where I see a lot more female than I'm used to. So it's been great. It's been a breath of fresh air. I think the one thing that I would say, spending most of my career journey in a mostly male heavy industry, is that it's super important to find an ally.
Yeah.
It's hard to maybe envision who you can become or envision success if you don't see someone that looks like you, that has that
Mm.
success that you want to
Yeah.
achieve. If you don't see female in the C level, you don't see female in the senior management position, then you feel like, or like, for example, now I have a kid, you don't see, women, female with kids, in really top positions, then you feel like, oh, is it even possible for me to do it, right? So if you are stuck in that situation, then it's super important to find an ally. And this can be a female or a male. It could be your manager, it could be your coach, it could be your sponsor at work, someone who vouches for you, who believes in you, believes that you can do the work. And then once you build that connection and trust, I feel like then you're more open to speak about some of the personal challenges that maybe like a specific gender would have, like a female would have, that a male can or cannot understand. And just through that, then you could kind of change the working environment to make it work for you. I think what I see is that sometimes we get very apologetic with things that are normal. We feel bad. I don't know, when we tell work that, oh, I don't know, like my kid is sick, I need to take a day off, something, right? You'd be surprised, like, by building these allyships, then they actually can understand you and can support and vouch for you at work.
Yeah, of course. So although the research was correct, but the perspective itself doesn't not 100% support the result. Find your LA, is it the tips? Yeah, Muriel, build connection and trust is important. Okay, because there are still a lot of people who will support each other. Don't hesitate to move forward just because of kind of stigma, guys. Okay, very interesting. Okay, how is the environment in Gojek regarding this situation, Dian? And what should young female talents like us prepare from now so that we can thrive under such circumstance? We love to know, Dian.
Well, I think that statistic resonates. When I think I came into the consumer platform group just over a year ago, we were about like 20% of like all the product managers in our group were female. The rest were, men. And I was like, okay, this is really imbalanced, even like I think a bit worse than the average at Gojek. So I had to work really hard with our hiring managers and recruiting team whenever there was like a new opening. I was like, we need to prioritize making sure we evaluate lots of like, diverse candidates so that we can balance this out a little bit. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like over the past year, we've been able to, I think, increase that percentage to like 40% of like my product team are now women, which is really great. But when you look at like, going up like the more senior and like leadership levels, like that percentage starts tanking again. So yeah, I think I'm like one of like very few like, female product tech leaders at Gojek at this level. And I think maybe like the only like Indo woman, which can get a little lonely sometimes. Like all of my peers are men. Like in most meetings, I'm like the only woman. But I think it highlights the importance of, if you don't start like at the bottom and you don't hire like early talent and develop them, then you're never gonna, they're never gonna rise, right? It's like you can't expect that you'll just be able to find tons and tons of like senior talent if like you don't start sowing like those seeds early on. So like I've pivoted my strategy a bit the last like couple of years. Okay, if it's still difficult to find like senior product talent in Indonesia because it is a new field here, then let's start filling all of our like more junior roles with women, with Indonesians, and we're gonna develop them from within. And then in a few years, 5, 6, 10 years from now, we've got our next generation of leaders, right? So you've got to start there, I think. And in terms of like, I think what female talent should prepare early on, I think when I saw this question, I think I had the exact same answer like in mind around like building allies and like advocates. So I'm trying to like maybe find like more practical examples so I don't repeat your answer. I think you can start small, right? Like for example, for me, like I've got like this Slack channel of just like me and like 2 other like product leaders. Like they're not all women, it's like a guy also. And we just keep each other sane, right? Like have that small support network. Even though it's super small, I think it's important to like feel supported and feel less alone. And when you find like a work best friend, somebody, at a job that you like develop a really good relationship with, I think really maintain and nurture that, I think, relationship even after you move on to the next job, because you start building out like almost like a board of advisors throughout your career. Like I still keep in touch from like engineering managers and like other product leaders from my previous jobs. So when I get stuck on something, at work, or like even if it's a cultural problem, I've got other people who can give me a different point of view that I really trust. So that's been super helpful in my career.
Oh, I see. So it is hard, yeah, but to find woman talent, and it's great that you determined to bring in more female team member in Gojek. I'm proud of it. But yes, the world is open for women as well. So thank you, Mbak Dian and Mbak Muriel. I feel more and more having space in this tech industry. Yeah. Okay. With to all of you friends, guys, if you have any question, please put on the column chat and don't forget to hashtag us, okay? And okay, next, let's go to the next question. Okay, with Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian long work experience, surely you have already lead many team members, right? What are the ups and downs that you face as a senior management in your company? Maybe we start from Mbak Dian.
Man, many ups and downs. I think the ups, like, is probably like watching like people grow and develop, especially those that I think like maybe are like the underdogs. And some emerging leaders often get overlooked because they don't fit the usual like stereotypical like leader that you might expect. Like maybe they don't like to like speak in big groups, maybe they're not social or extroverted. So I really enjoy like trying to identify those folks that might be overlooked and making sure that they can make impact in their own way, even if they have a different style of leadership. I think the downs, like I really care about my team members, and sometimes I'm really not careful about setting good boundaries, and I can be really hard on myself when things are difficult and like I feel like I'm letting down my team, so that can really take a toll on my mental health. So that's something I have to pay really close attention to.
Okay. Wow, what a diverse experience ya, Mbak. Okay, thank you for sharing, Mbak. And how about Mbak Muriel? What are the things that you do to keep your team engaged and stay productive?
Um, I guess being in the management position, you do have more visibility into maybe the bigger picture, into the company's vision as to why we do certain things, right? It's very easy if you're focused on executing, on building the product, building the service. Once that's done, you execute and then you move on to the next. But what I find is that if people keep on continuing to do these things without understanding what is the purpose of it, then I can see a lot of my team get lost and maybe demotivated, right? Because then what am I doing this for? So as someone who may have access to all these things, I think it's very important to build visibility into the team. What is the impact and the meaning of their work, and what this means at a company level? So be very open in sharing all of the information. When maybe the CEO gives an update on what's going to happen, share to them and what this means for their work, right? What this means for their project. And that inspires them. Like, don't shield your team from like the bigger conversations, because actually when they're given more context, when you expose them more, have them join some of these really important meetings, you'd be surprised that like you actually can get a lot more from them, and even like creative ideas come out of this because now they know what the main goal is. So I would say that's one key thing that's important to keep your team engaged.
Oh, okay. That's exactly what I feel, Mbak Muriel. I work in tech industry as well, and sometimes I feel tired of non-stop working, long list of projects. So sharing is caring, ya, Mbak. Okay. Um, okay. Next question. In the same things, Mbak Dian, did you share that you like to care for your team, and isn't it so female, and What makes female leaders different?
Um, from what I've seen, I think like emotional intelligence and empathy tends to be higher in like my female leaders. And so it's really helpful, I think, in like, at least for like product management, there can be a high degree of stakeholder management, sometimes very difficult stakeholders. Sometimes, maybe you're working with like, a challenging, opinionated like engineering team. And I think like having like that skill of empathy and being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and thinking about, okay, where are they coming from and how do I most effectively like navigate the situation so we can reach like a good compromise. Like I usually see like my like women team members navigate those challenging situations better than the men. And usually when I'm mediating, a difficult situation, it's usually a disagreement between men. So I think, I think because of the challenges that we've had to go through as women, I think we're just a bit more in tune to that and being more empathetic to others. And I think that's a really, really good skill to have for a leader.
Oh, right. Thank you, Mbak. So empathy and emotional intelligence as our characteristic is also important, yeah. Women can play important role to show empathize as a leader. Okay. Okay, by the way, next question, sorry, Mbak Dian. Okay, how do you spot a leader or rising star from your team? Okay, this is could be useful for Bangkit student to hear.
Me again, yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. What are the things? I think the first one is I try to see if, like, do they have high ownership? So are they like proactively identifying, challenges and problems and trying to fix them, suggesting solutions, even if it falls outside their direct job description? So like when I see that kind of behavior, I'm like, ooh, this could be like an emerging leader. Another one is, how do they ask for feedback? How do they give feedback to others or to me? And then how do they receive feedback? I think it's a really good indicator of like how they want or can learn, right, and want to develop and improve. And then how do they make decisions, especially, maybe in situations where like not all the information is there. I think the more senior you get, I think the higher the bar I have for this. I like put, my team members in situations to see like, hey, this is a really ambiguous situation. I want to see like how you deal with it and like think through like the different scenarios. And then another one I look for, and this is a bit harder, is like how far is their like reach and influence in the organization? Like, am I hearing feedback from their stakeholders outside our direct group? Are much more senior leaders come like talking about them, like saying that they've had a really good impact on like their team and like their team's work? And I try to actually poll like other leaders, like my peers, to see like, hey, like, are there people from my team that have been like especially helpful for you guys the past couple of quarters? Like, who are they? I want to like know who these people are. And like, if you see potential, like let me know, because sometimes I can't see all the work that they do, and the stakeholders can like give a really good view into how my team is doing. And then a bit more practical, I guess, if you have a career ladder, right, at your company, I like to check like how are their actions and impact comparing to what is expected of their level at the job ladder. And if I'm seeing that actually they keep doing things that are like being expected of somebody at a higher level, then I think that's a really clear indicator that they're growing and becoming, more mature.
Yeah, okay. Wow, thank you, Mbak Dian, again for your sharing. Guys, please do take a note. It is going to be very important what you finish Bangkit and want to be seen in the company you work in. Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian, thank you for all these of tips and info. And next, learning from your current experience, Mbak Muriel, what qualities did it take for someone to climb up to the leader in the in IT industry?
I think number one is probably having a growth mindset. So remember, I think in the beginning, I was saying what keeps me engaged and inspired at work or have a sense of purpose if I keep on continuing to learn every day. So being resilient and accepting that you don't always have to be successful. There will be failures throughout the journey. There is no one straight path. When we look at successful people, people we want to be role models, we assume that they got there in an easy way, but when you dig deeper, actually, most of these people have had a lot of failures, ups and downs.
Yeah.
It's how you bounce back from it, and don't be afraid to fail, because then from failure, actually, you learn quite a lot, and you can, grow and become stronger, right? So see it as a
Yeah.
learning opportunity. And especially for female, I do see that we typically are harder on ourselves. We try to blame ourselves. When I see another male colleague doing the same thing, they just go on their day and be confident. They're like,
Yeah.
it's just one small thing. I'm gonna move on and still go through. But for female, then they think about it and they feel guilty. And
Yeah.
no, like we should just take it as a learning opportunity. We know that that's just the path for success. There's no straight path. And also, I mean, probably a lot of you have heard of this, that there's studies out there that say, in a company where there's more gender balance and gender diversity, it also impacts the bottom line. The company performs better than companies that are, quite one-sided when it comes to gender. So embrace that. We do. Everyone does come from a different background, and we do have value when we share our opinion. And actually, the population is 50% female, so we represent the customer too, right?
Yeah.
If we want to build product for the user, then female perspective is important, because then we can speak to them better. We can produce products or offering services that they need. That's why it's super important, and embrace your differences and use it to your advantage, I would say.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Mbak Muriel. I feel it too. Okay, so the tip is being resilient, accepting failure, ya, Mbak Muriel. Don't be hard to yourself, guys. If we face the failure, it's fine. This way we can learn to move on. So, and I want to ask you again, but what qualities do women leaders tend to have that will bring many positive impact, especially for the people and the company objective? But maybe Mbak Muriel first.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's probably my second point that I said earlier, because we come in from different experiences, and we can benefit from having the different point of view and approaches. So from that, I believe that we're hugely influential in terms of building products or services that reflect the actual population, what the population need. Um, and I mean, if you want to talk about business, when we look at households, also female have a very big influence in terms of making purchase decision, right? So it's not a segment we can ignore. And in order to build a successful company, the company needs to mimic who are we trying to cater to. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mbak Muriel. Okay. How about Mbak Dian? What qualities do women leaders tend to have that will bring many positive impacts, especially for people and the company objective?
I don't know if I can add more than what Muriel has already said. I feel like she really, really like had a really good point. Because yeah, like we make up like half of the population, and if you don't have enough women, or like really not even just women, if you don't have enough like diverse perspectives that actually represent like the market you're building for, like delivering services for, then you're probably missing a whole perspective on like what your customers actually need. So I think that's actually the most important part, is that we just bring that perspective that represents like the market.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mbak Dian, Mbak Muriel. Is it true, guys? So, women view are very influential and our voice needs to be here. So, semangat buat teman-teman wanita di Bangkit. There's a lot to prepare. So, pack your things and get motivated because you had also have been facilitated in Bangkit, ya. Okay. Okay. Oh no, I can't leave this. At the end of our talk show session, we will answer the question and answer session. In this session, there were already two students who also directly asked Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian. Maybe we should invite Johanna Sri Rezeki first. Okay, please. Okay, hello Johanna. For
Hello.
Johanna, okay, hello. You may be pleased if you want to ask. Time is yours. Feel free.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Johanna Srirejeki and I'm an undergraduate student in informatic engineering at Universitas Komputer Indonesia. And I'm a Bangkit 2022 cohort for machine learning path. I want to ask a question to Mbak Dian Rosanti. My question is, IT is such a disruptive and ever-changing field, right? How do you stay focused to lead and innovate in times of this ambiguity? Thank you.
Thanks for the question. I'll try to answer. Number one, I think actually my calendar is my best friend. When there is like so much information and so many priorities, coming at me, and a lot of the, areas I operate in can be very ambiguous. It's very easy to just like lose my time, like chasing like different threads, and also like really easy to actually lose those boundaries between like work and like the rest of my life. So everything goes on my calendar. I've trained my husband to like use our Google Calendar religiously. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen. I break out the focus blocks and like specific like tasks and like goals that I want to do every day, every week. I make sure to carve out time for exercise, like spending time with my family. Without it, I think like everything would just kind of like fall to pieces, and like it really forces me every week to like determine like what's going to be most important and like make time for it, because there's a limited number of hours in the day. And honestly, I have the privilege of being child free, and not all women and men have that. Mothers and fathers, like people who have like families to support, like I salute you. It's amazing. Like I don't know how you do it. And I think I have to, acknowledge that there is privilege when you don't have to like track so many different things outside of work. And that's how I'm able to stay focused on some of the things at work. And most importantly, I think like what I said earlier, like having that support system and having like a network of people where you can, share what you're learning, help each other stay on top of like the latest macro trends so that you can keep innovating. I think that's also really important.
Okay. Thank you, Mbak Dian. So calendar is your best friend ya, Mbak Dian. So guys, use calendar, practice back perfect kalau mau menjadi seperti Mbak Dian. Okay, for Johanna, you have any question?
For me, I have one more question
Okay,
to
it's okay,
Mbak
go ahead.
Dian and also Mbak Muriel. As a woman, how to beat insecurity when working in IT areas? Because we know that in IT area, a lot of male work at there. How to beat our insecurity, especially intelligent, also physical appearance? Thank you.
Oh, nice. Great.
You want to go first, Muriel?
Okay, maybe Mbak Muriel first.
How to beat the insecurities? I would say the fact that you are in the field, the fact that, first of all, congratulations, you're in Bangkit program. It is highly competitive. It's hard to get into. We have more than 60,000 people who applied, and you got it, right? That is already an amazing accomplishment. So congrats on that. So the fact that you are already in the industry, in the program, or whatever company that you end up working with, just know that you are there for a reason, right? Companies or programs don't pick you because they pity you. Oh, this is like a donation I'm going to do. No, because you are actually skilled for it. You have the experience and skill to do the work. So just be confident with that knowledge. And everyone that gets in, everyone that had the same opportunity as you, are on the same level, right? They all have skill, they all have experience. So you are not starting from a worse path, So just go into it with that type of confidence. I think I was reading a book, Sheryl Sandberg, and she said something like, when you're at, I don't know, maybe some of you remember this, but when you're at the table, like be at the table. You're on the table for a reason, right? You're sitting there for a reason. Then use it. Don't feel like, oh, I'm an imposter syndrome. And I'm sure this was a mistake that people picked me. So these people seem smarter than me. I'm just gonna retract and hold on to myself. No, you're there for a reason. So I guess it's a mindset to believe that you actually are capable. And once you're confident in that, then it'll show up in how you do your work, how you speak, how you put yourself out there.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Bu Muriel. Okay, next maybe Mbak Dian, you can answer
Sure,
the question from
great
here.
answer already. So, I think, agree that like mindset, like that's the hardest part, right? And even when you start, cultivating that muscle and you're like becoming more confident as you build your skills and your experience, there will be days when you like question your capabilities and like that imposter syndrome comes back. I get those days, right? So like, what do I do when like I have those bad days? I think again, I keep coming back to like having that community and like ally and like advocate support network. I've got like a couple of like peers who are guys, like amazing leaders, right? And we share with each other when we are having these moments, right? Like we are vulnerable with each other, and it helps to see that, like, hey, everybody goes through this. Even guys, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, like everybody goes through bad days, and it helps to like see somebody else like struggle with this, and you can support them and they can support you when you're having like a tough time, and they remind you, why you're good, and you remind them why they're good. And another thing that I do, I read this somewhere and it's like a really great life hack. I have a folder on my Google Drive where when I do something I'm really proud of, like feel really great about, when somebody, gives me really positive feedback about my work, I like screenshot it and like save it into that folder, and I call that folder "You're doing a great job." So whenever I have a really bad day, I just like go into that folder and like look back on all of this evidence that I'm actually doing a great job, and that helps on my lowest days.
Okay, it's gonna remind you that you going through that wherever you know. Okay, thank you, Mbak Dian. Thank you, semangat Yohana, harus pede ya, change your mindset. Thank you,
Thank you.
Johanna. Thank you for the question. See you next
Thank you for
time.
all of the answers.
Okay, all right. Next, we move to our next friends, Salviana Alia Hansa. The place is yours. Hello, Alia.
Halo Kak.
Hello. Okay, if you got any question, the time is yours.
So I will introduce myself first. Hello everyone, I'm Salviana Yakansa. I'm a biomedical engineering student at Institut Teknologi 10 November. And now I'm also a machine learning path student at Bangkit.academy. So I will ask question to Mbak Muriel Karim. I believe you must be busy with multiple roles at home and at work. What's your view on work-life balance and how has it changed during the pandemic?
Thanks for the question, and also congrats to you for being a Bankit student. It's a great journey to have. Yeah, so maybe just for everyone's context, I have a 4-year-old, a very demanding 4-year-old little girl. And actually, when I started at Google, I just gave birth like 5 months before that. So I was still like a new mom, trying to care of a newborn baby, and on top of that, a new job. So work-life balance is something that's really important for me. I think what I learned is that when we think about work-life balance, we see it as 50-50. 50 work, 50 life. What I learned is that that's not the case. There will be times where your work will require more time, right? So it could be 70% versus life. Or there are times where your family needs you more, and during that week, maybe it's 90% on your family. And being able to adjust your time based on what's important and who needs you the most is what I call work-life balance. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's 50-50, but being flexible and adapting to the needs of what's around you. Because I feel like sometimes we put too much pressure on us if we're not doing it like in a balanced way, in a 50-50 way. Oh, I feel guilty this week because maybe I didn't put my kid to sleep 5 days in a row. Or maybe on another week I feel guilty because I missed several meetings at work that I know that I was supposed to be in, and instead I sent my team, right? But that's okay, because we should think of it as the longer run, not at one specific moment. At the longer run, then you do cater to what's more important to you at that time, then it becomes a balanced life. And also what I would say is that don't assume that all responsibilities fall under you. Sometimes we are hard on ourselves like that. We feel like we need to solve everyone's problem, solve my parents' problem, solve my kids' problem, solve work's problem. But no, actually, like having trusted partners across the journey. So for example, in my life, having a husband that I'm open to in terms of discussing what's going on at work. Sorry, like I may need you to step in this week and help our daughter, because I have to cater to this at work. And being open to that, so then that the work is balanced. Or maybe at work, I have to tell my supervisor that actually my kid is quite sick this week, or I need to cater because he has school activities. Can you please cover for me for this project, right? So and just because of that, that that you don't have to solve everything yourself, and people around you can actually help you support.
Okay. It's done by on priorities ya, Mbak. And do it with full responsibility, and don't hesitate to ask from people you trust, and let everything balance. Okay. Okay, how about Mbak Dian?
Same question, yeah.
Yes,
I
same
think
question, of course.
agree with Muriel that there is like no perfect 50-50, right? And one week can look very different from the next depending on what's going on at work and what's also going on at home. Like it's not always smooth sailing for me and my husband either, even if we don't have kids, right? Sometimes like we have like unexpected health issues, or maybe there's something going on in our extended family that requires our attention. And I think being like really clear on like what each week is going to look like, and like really communicating those needs, I think, to like your support system, I also agree is like really, really important. Like I'm very lucky in that I think my husband's like work is a lot more flexible. So he's able to actually like pick up a lot of the slack for the household, keeping the house tidy, like doing the groceries. I'm a horrible cook. I almost set the kitchen on fire and burn our apartment down. So like he is responsible for like all things like cooking and like eating, right? But even then, like, the early part of our relationship, I think was really difficult because I was doing all the work and like managing a lot of the income and finances. But because of our, like, I think our old habits and how society like runs, like I was also doing all of the household things except for the cooking bit, right? And so there was like a lot of like resentment and learning that we had to do. I was like, okay, like what is the support that I need? And he didn't know that I was tracking all these things in my head and in my background, right? So I had to actually voice it like, hey, partner, like this is what you can do to be a better partner for me, because XYZ is going on at work. And I also can't track like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that's going on in our household. And like, do you know that we are tracking all these things? And half the time he was like, oh, I had no idea we were tracking that as a household. Now I know, and now we'll take that off your plate. So I think balance comes from communicating like, your needs to other people who can help you, including at work and at family, like at home too.
Wow, that's a mind open answer from Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian. It's not always a 50-50 ya, Mbak. Cater what important in the moment, in the time, and it's really important being open to people around you. Communication is the key. Okay. Vina, if you have any question for Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian.
Okay, maybe one more following question. As Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian says before that in life we face many challenging problems sometimes through ups and downs. And is there any habits that we can practice so we can have a better work-life balance and overcome uh, our bored things in work so we can manage our work performance?
Okay,
Um,
maybe Mbak Dian first.
I can
Okay.
go first. I think going back to what I said, like really mapping out like my day to day on my calendar, because that really forces me to see like this is how much time I actually have in any given week or any given day. Like really forces me to look if you have to sleep and I like actually put sleep in my calendar. Because if I don't get at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep, I am useless the next day, right? So I have to like put in, you need 6 to 7 hours of sleep. I make that a recurring event, right? And then some days I have to go to bed a little later, which means I have to wake up a little later, which means, oh, morning time is going to be less with my husband. So how do I accommodate all these things? Like first I come up with like, what are the priorities, right? At work and both at home. And then when I look at my calendar, like, do I actually have enough time to address all of these different priorities? And sometimes the answer is no. And I have to like make decisions on like, okay, what falls off like the list? What's gonna have to like, get maybe punted to next week or even the next 2 weeks. And sometimes it's something at work, sometimes it's something at home. But I think really looking at the limited 24 hours of each day and like knowing what I need from every single day really forces the priority.
Okay. Don't forget to make a list, yeah, there, so that nothing is left behind. Okay. Thank you, Mbak Dian. Okay. Next, how about Mbak Muriel?
First of all, I really want to see your calendar, Dian. I'm so impressed that you're so organized and you put every single thing on your calendar. I would like to do that. Okay. For me, I would say work-life balance won't come without taking care of yourself first. Um, and success and your performance at work go hand in hand with this balance, right? That won't come without taking care of yourself first. So I don't know, the work culture back when I started working was very different than now, where you feel guilty taking vacations, you bring work with you at home, and your measure of success at work is from the number of hours you put in, and it becomes a bragging factor, right? I worked this weekend, I worked 100 hours this week, and people talk about it, and when you don't do that, then you feel like, oh, am I doing enough? But now I'm glad to see that things are changing and it's shifting to there is actually low productivity without taking care of yourself first. So that shouldn't be an afterthought. You shouldn't burn yourself to death, trying to do what you think is the right thing to do for work. And then only after you're burned out, then you take care of yourself, go on a vacation. Like, it should just be part of your daily life where you learn how to detach from the stress, detach from work when you're and being present, right? When you leave work, then you're at home, not thinking about the problems that are happening at work. You actually spend fun times with your family, and then when you get back to work, you feel more refreshed, and you can work in a more productive way. So I would say taking care of yourself is super important, especially if you want to succeed at work.
Okay, so taking self your first, yeah, Vina. Okay. Okay, thank you, Vina, for your question. Keep fighting. See you.
Okay, thank you for the answer. It's really amazing. See you.
Okay, thank
Bye.
you. Okay, thank you guys for the exceptional question. Others for this selected questioner that have been many questions that have answered that the column chat that I will read them one by one. Okay, let's go to the Q&A session. The first question come from Agriat atau waspada? Waduh, mantap nih. As us as a leader, Mbak Dian and Mbak Muriel, what are the most difficult problem you guys face when become a leader and how to handle that, and also how to manage the group to through into one purpose? Okay, Mbak Muriel or Mbak Dian? Maybe Mbak Muriel first.
I think maybe as young leaders, or maybe first time managing a team, you suddenly feel the need to always solve it for the team. When there's a very tough challenge at work or a problem that you've never encountered before, you feel like, oh, I need to kind of solve it first and then tell my team what to do. What I learned is that that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes the best solution comes from involving your team and coming up with a solution. So as a leader, sometimes I feel like a lot of people put pressure on themselves to solve it. I need to solve it, and it becomes like a big stress factor. If they're faced with tough problems. But no, actually, like what needs to happen is, as a leader, you must learn how to kind of structure the problem in a way that is digestible, and then build systems and processes around it, so then you can come up with a good solution, either by doing brainstorming sessions with your team. Some of your teams could have like an amazing solution, right? And then after that, also bringing in your supervisor to kind of jump in and provide input. After that, bringing it to other cross-functional stakeholders who could also speak from their experience on what could work best. And then at the end of the day, you find that this super difficult problem becomes it's an eye-opening thing. It becomes like, oh, okay, now I'm getting all this input from all the different people. This is what I think should happen in terms of how we solve it. So that's also how to like bring everyone together into kind of solving the same problem, coming into one purpose. And also it's a good way to start this in the beginning, so then when it comes to actually executing it, everyone's kind of already aligned. They've provided their input, they've seen the thought process, how you got there, and it just becomes a lot easier to execute.
Yes. Okay. Approach your team and work it out together. Get input from everyone and find the best solution, ya, Mbak. Okay. Thank you, Mbak Muriel. Okay. How about Mbak Dian nih? What are the most difficult problem that you face when become a leader, and also how to manage the group to through into one purpose?
I think probably some of my most challenging times as a leader was, the times when I've had to lead teams through like a restructure, right? It's a lot of change, a lot of like uncertainty. And sometimes I'm coming in as, like a stranger. Like these teams have been working with other leaders, perhaps before I came into the picture, and I actually have to help them navigate through these changes. And they might not always understand, okay, like why all this change? It's so disruptive to like our day to day, and like we don't know you and we don't know these other people, and now we have to like figure out how to like combine all the different ways of working and all the different goals from before. And I think what I like learned through doing this a few times is that, one, it's really important to just repeat to death, I think, the objectives of like why you are doing this. Like remind people that there is some rhyme to reason to making some of these changes, which can be painful, and really highlight like what's in it for them, right? Not just what's in it for the company, but try to find like, here are some of the things that you can look forward to as a team member, as a team, after we make some of these changes. Really, like any change I introduce that might get pushback, I try to like put myself into their shoes, like, okay, like what could be good that could come out of this for them, make sure to highlight that. The other thing I think that's really important is to, I think, be really honest and acknowledge when you don't have all the answers. I think sometimes, and I hate this myself, when like, earlier in my career, when leaders just, when they don't know something and I ask a tough question, they just kind of make up a very wishy-washy, fuzzy kind of answer. And I'm like, that's not an answer. So I try when I'm navigating like seas of uncertainty, and I see that teams are feeling uncertain, they have lots of questions, and sometimes I don't know the answer yet. And I tell them, like, that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that yet. Give me a few days and we'll get back to this. And I think that really helps build trust, you know, that you're not pretending you know everything, but you want to like learn from them, and also, you know, actually give them a good answer. So those are some of the lessons learned during difficult times.
Yeah. Yes, you really give the best direction for your team, ya, Mbak. And remember why you did this and don't lose your aim. Okay, thank you, Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian. We jump to the second question from Vian Ardi. Okay, we always do chain of command. How you manage it with different people with different perspective, of course, and how you make strong bonds as a team even with different perspective. Okay, maybe Mbak Dian first.
Interesting question. I think part of being a leader is like understanding and accepting that every individual is very different with different ways of working. And I think earlier, you know, when I first started becoming like a manager, like, you know, I'm a very structured person, right? So I just like have this very specific like ways I like to work and specific like processes and like structure. And I'm like, I really want everything to be consistent. And like that also means like how I engage with everybody, right? Very quickly learn like there's like no like template for like managing people, right? And it takes time to, you know, get to know like each individual on your team, and understanding like what motivates them, like what's going to be most effective for them. You know, you as a leader, I try to set expectations on, here are like things, like here's how I work and how I expect things to be done, and like the level of quality I like to see. Here are good examples of work, here are bad examples of work. So I can be very directive in that sense. But then from there, it's really kind of thinking about what's going to help them operate best, right? And I've got somebody who likes to think out loud, right? And they really like come up with the best ideas and direction when they're just like speaking through their thing, like their ideas with me. So like I carve out time where we, you know, our one-on-ones, and like time for like workshops, you know, with other people, because that's when he comes up with the best ideas for our team. I've got somebody who's like, you know, who actually like hates doing that, and like they need to like write things down. They need more time to like flesh out their ideas. So I give them space. I'm like, all right, we've got this like problem we need to solve for the next couple months. I'm going to give you a couple weeks to like write something up, and then let's have a structured conversation about it. Every person is different. And so I think especially when coming into a new team, I make sure to just spend time getting to know each team member as a person, and see like, you know, try to figure out like what's going to make them like perform their best, and then just adjust, you know, based on that.
Oh, you are very patient, Mbak. And of course, it will take a long time, right? But of course, Mbak Dian will give her best. Okay, thank you, Mbak Dian. Okay, how about Bu Muriel and Mbak Muriel? How you manage with the different people with different perspective, and how you make strong bond as a team, even with different perspective.
I think first of all is making sure that people are aligned on the main goal or the main objective. Sometimes when we see like very different, perspective or things that don't, that are just very different, we realize that, oh, we haven't actually agreed on why are we doing this. So making sure that everyone starts from the same starting point. That we're doing this because of X. And once you get that, then I find that it becomes a lot easier. But still, obviously, people will have different opinions, and actually, it's valuable to listen to all of these perspectives. So I would say, don't immediately shut anything down, right? Combine all these different perspectives, listen. You know, sometimes the best leader are the ones that listen the most, not the ones that speak the most. If you find yourself speaking the most at a meeting, then actually it's probably dangerous, not good. You know, you should spend less time and listen to what other people have to say. Um, and and based on that, then say you come up with all these different perspective, put it out there as an option. And the key thing here is to structure it. You structure it as an option. You analyze what are the trade-offs, what's the benefit for each of the perspective, each of the options, and then it becomes a quite objective decision that you make. You involved everyone in it, everyone get their opinion heard, and you analyze through data. You show what works, what doesn't work, and then at the end of the day, it's a lot easier to bring people along to kind of support you on whatever decision you make.
Okay. So make sure everyone start for the same starting line, and the cool things that you do is you try to listen first. And I'm very happy if especially our juniors' opinions like me are heard by my seniors. I love to thank you, Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian. Okay, next question. It comes from Indira Hulu that said, I tend to become the woman that asks a lot of questions and tend to get some remarks such as you are too opinionated and too much. Any tips how to deal with it? Okay, maybe Mbak Muriel first.
I'm sorry, Indira, that you have to experience this. I don't think that's a very nice comment to hear. There's nothing wrong with asking a lot of questions, and hopefully, like, you don't get to experience this a lot more in the future. But I guess any tips on how to deal with it? Mm, First, maybe if you see this becoming a pattern, right? If you see that this is not just a one-off thing, it happens to you quite a lot. It could be quite disruptive at work. Then I would bring whoever the person aside and speak to them privately. There's nothing wrong about being direct and just ask from a nice place, right? I wanted to understand, like, I know you've said this maybe multiple times. Is there a reason why you're saying this? So instead of confronting, more come from a place where I want to be better. Like, what do you think made you think that way? And then you'd be surprised if it comes from that place. Then the person could be more open-minded, and maybe that person has a valid point of view, maybe that person doesn't. And if that person doesn't, then you could say, maybe you don't understand why I'm asking these questions, but I'm doing it because of XYZ. So you kind of explain your situation, and that could probably enlighten the person and say, oh, sorry that I made that comment, so I will stop. That's actually, you're valid to ask these things, right? So I would say it depends on the situation. If you find there's like one or two culprit that's making the same comments to you, just approach them directly, like in a private way, and talk in a nice way. Try to find out what's going on. Yeah, that would be my tip.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Muriel. Just focus on yourself, yeah, guys. And like the song that I have been heard, that the word changed the heart. So yeah, keep on your track. Thank you, Mbak Muriel. Okay, how about Mbak Dian? About
I was
the
gonna give the
situation.
same advice. I like how we think, Muriel. I guess in that, like, if it is, I think a pattern that's more than a couple of people, maybe talk to your manager or somebody you trust about it. It's like, okay, like maybe I'm coming from a good place or a place of curiosity, but maybe there's a more effective way of doing this. So is there something I can learn from this? Or like you could also find that maybe like this is a place that is not healthy for you if you're not getting the support and you're like feeling attacked. So I don't know your exact situation, but talk to like a mentor or a manager you trust to kind of help like understand what's actually going on. And like if it is indeed like a toxic environment, like get out of there, girl. It's like get out, go somewhere else.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Dian. Okay, thank you, Mbak. Okay, we jump to the next question ya. Um, okay, from Wafik Aziz, from your experience, but Mbak Dian and Mbak Muriel, when you make a decision, have you ever experimented? If so, what should be considered? Okay, maybe Mbak Muriel first.
Yes, for sure. At Google, actually, it is encouraged that at least 10% of your time or 10% of the budget that you have is assigned to an experiment. Sometimes if and I'm glad because for the structure, because then it allows you to be brave enough and experiment, try new things, and know that it's safe if the experiment fails. But like I said in the beginning, failure is a learning opportunity, so it's not necessarily bad. It because you learned something that failed, now you know how to do it better, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so having that mindset within wherever you work, that I'm going to dedicate 10% as an experiment because that's the only way we can innovate. That's the only way we can try new things, and making sure that the structure is built for it. So if that 10% yields to performance that is not good, it's okay because we did commit to experimenting. And anyway, we're going to get a lot out of this. Like it's going to learning opportunity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say make sure the structure is built for it, that you align that this is an experiment and everyone agrees to it, no matter what the outcome becomes. Then you feel like you're in a safe zone and you can try anything you want.
Yes, of course. It's okay to fail, but you keep moving even 1% per day. Okay, thank you, Mbak Muriel. Okay, how about Mbak Dian? When you make a
Um,
decision.
Yeah, and I think this is actually a really big part of like product management. It's like this is something I consider a lot just day to day. So maybe I'll talk about some of the pitfalls I see with like having an experimentation mindset. Is I think it's really important to like know like the goal of your experiment and like what hypotheses you're actually testing. Like a really good, I think, litmus test for me is like, okay, like if I run this experiment and the result can be like X or Y or Z, like how does that actually change like my next actions or the team's next steps? Because not often, but sometimes when you talk about just experimentation mindset a lot, it sometimes becomes a crutch for decision making. Like when you are feeling unsure about like even the smallest decisions, like let's just like run an experiment, right? Like A/B test it. And sometimes you can actually overdo it because like you realize that you're just experimenting to kind of like validate and like have something to point to, even though you already know that maybe that's the larger direction you want to go in. So I think super important to just be very clear, like, is this experiment actually going to change like my course of action? Like, am I clear what the hypothesis is? Am I clear like how I'm going to design the experiment so that we can actually learn something versus just a checkbox? So that would be my take on experiments for product decisions, but also like even for any kind of decision I make, right? When like maybe we're experimenting with like a new type of role, right, that we haven't done before. For example, like we introduced like product operations managers to support product managers. So I'm like, okay, like we need to decide if we're going to scale this up across different teams at Gojek. So the experiment is to actually like define like one single role, get the budget for that, and here are like the success criteria. If like if we hit these things, we're going to go this direction. If we don't hit these things, what's the actual course of action? Do we just shut it down completely, or do we try something different? So being really clear of like the almost like the decision tree of the experiment versus just throwing a bunch of things at the wall, I think is really important.
Yes, just do it, yeah. And if you often will find the clues, and because you will definitely learn something, so you can find the right formula. Thank you, Mbak Dian and Mbak Muriel. Okay, next question from Gilang Marta Dinata asks, how do you define success as a career woman? And by the way, happy Kartini days to all amazing women. Thank you, Gilang. Okay. Okay, maybe the from Mbak Dian first.
Ooh, I feel like this keeps evolving over the years. It's a great question. Um, I think that for me, success and sometimes, some days it's hard to have this, um, is I want to be doing something that I am good at, but also where it is challenging and I'm like learning things. Um, and where it feels fulfilling, right? Like there's like some meaning and purpose to it. So that to me is like success. And being able to integrate that with the rest of my life. But I also realize that sometimes, I don't know, especially with our generation, it's that's a really high bar you're setting for yourself, right? And so, earlier in my career, like sometimes I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like I'm not feeling purpose from this. And sometimes I have to remind myself, sometimes it's just a job also, right? And like there will be ups and downs in my career, and I cannot have like, a purposeful job where I'm really good and I'm learning and I love my teammates and I love the work. Like I can't be perfect all the time. So I think success in terms of maybe like progression and like going with the ups and downs is how I see it.
Okay, love whatever you do ya, Mbak. Thank you, Mbak Dian. Okay, how about Bu Muriel? How do you define your success career as a woman?
Um, I think one of the views that I've changed is that I always think of it success as a goal that you want to reach, same as
Yeah,
you
of
see it like
course.
I aim to be happy, like happiness is a goal that's the final goal you want to achieve. But what I changed in terms of my mindset is that success and same as happiness is part of the journey. So there will be small wins and successes throughout your career, and I consider that a success, right? Same as there's no place of happiness that you reach and suddenly you're never going to be sad again or anything. Right? No, it's just
Yes, of
happiness is
course.
part of your life, so sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're not, and you just have to embrace it. And so to me, just that kind of helps, right? As long as I enjoy what I do every day at work. I work with people that inspire me, people that can teach me to do better things and improve in life. And also, of course, making sure that the work I do is impactful, which I find at Google now, that to me is success. But then on the back of it, also knowing that I do not want to deprioritize my personal life, so my family. So being able to achieve that definition of success at work without sacrificing my personal life, personal freedom is very important for me. Because I have been in jobs where I felt like I had to sacrifice that. There was so much pressure where I felt like I couldn't be at home or spend time with family, and that's the worst feeling. So you should definitely find something where because you want to be successful doesn't
Yeah.
mean you need to deprioritize your personal
Yeah.
life.
Okay, of course, happiness is the same of successful ya, Mbak. All the feeling will be present in life, and the important things is that you enjoy it and be grateful because it can be have impact on many people. Thank you, Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian. Thank you guys for your question. Um, Bagus-bagus banget pertanyaannya. However, our time is very limited, so we will enter the door prize announcement season, the most waited season, of course. All right, let's count down, and later Mbak Irin will help the share screen. 3, 2, 1. Congratulations for the best 5 question. Angga Rianto Waspada, Vian Ardi, Indira Hulu, Wafik Aziz, and Gilang Marta Dinata. Each of you got 100 point, guys. Thank you. Okay, as the closing, okay, maybe Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian, what is the message from Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian want to convey to our friends participating in Bangkit 2022? Okay, maybe Mbak Muriel first.
Congratulations on all the winners. Such deep questions today. Thanks for being so engaged. And for those of you who are fasting, I know this is kind of your ngabuburit time. But
Yes.
I'm so impressed by the quality of questions. So thanks for everyone. My last words, I would say congratulations to everyone. You guys are going through an amazing journey now. I wish back in my college years I had this opportunity. Bangkit is an amazing program. I've heard a lot of success stories that come from Bangkit graduates, how it has changed their life for the better. So I know that you will do the same. Definitely make the most of it, because it will become, one of the things that you can be proud of, and hopefully
Right.
open up doors to new exciting opportunities. Um, but well, at the same time, of course, we know that like we've been going through some rough times in the past 2 years. So definitely take care of yourself. Don't lose sight of what's important for you. Be gentle with yourself when things are hard. Like I said earlier, that's number one, because without taking care of yourself, all the success, the programs you get into, the careers you get, won't mean anything. So definitely be gentle with yourself and enjoy the journey now.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Muriel. I'm also grateful for being part of Bangkit family. Okay, thank you, Mbak Muriel. Okay, how about Mbak Dian?
Well, first, thank you so much for the really amazing questions. It really made me reflect on a lot of things, and thank you for having me here today.
Oh,
I
my
think
God.
last words, and this is really important to me, is tech. The space can be a really like unforgivingly like just intense and like hectic world, right? And what Muriel said earlier really resonated with me. Don't forget to take care of your mental health, your well-being, your physical health also. Like all those things are really important. I think in the hustle, we often forget to just take care of yourself. And like trust me, like as you get older, it's gonna like you're gonna have to put a lot of intention into it. You can't just like go really hard and pull all-nighters and like work like back to back, like you did when you're younger. So try to cultivate those habits early, so that as you need to slow down, it becomes easier. I kind of had to, I hit a like wall like when I hit 30, and I was like, oh, I don't have any of the habits now. I have to like really learn them and like figure out how to take care of myself. So that was hard. So that would be my advice.
Oh, I was touched to hear that. Thank you for your sharing, Mbak Muriel and Mbak Dian. I'm so a little bit emotional. Thank you. Oh my God. It's such a pleasure to be able to talk directly with two of my idol figure and all of my Bangkit friends who attend the event today. Hopefully we can implement the lesson we learned today to be ready to enter the tech industry. And one thing for sure, the best leader is those who is able to lead to have a good impact on many people surrounding. Okay, I'm Cendekia Alfieta Nazalia as the moderator of today's session. Would like to say goodbye. I would like to express my apologize for any unpleasant behaviors or inconvenience word to hear. That it's all for today. Thank you and see you next time. Thank you, Mbak Dian. Thank you, Mbak Muriel.
Thank you,
See you
everyone.
in the next
Thank you.
event.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.